I appreciate you all. The Soul. Is it Ether or Aether?
Aether.
Aether. Okay, the Soul Aether team for joining us. Really excited to talk a little bit more about the project. But before we get too in depth, I wanted to quickly have you guys introduce yourselves. So just tell us a little bit about who you are. We can start with Ben, go to Blue, then Interdimensional, and then Steve.
Sounds good. So hello everybody. My name is Ben. I am 33 years old and I live in Wellington, New Zealand. I have been in the creative space my whole life, really. But professionally, I've been building a creative agency for almost the last 12 years. Before that, at the very start of my career, I thought I wanted to get into film, and I worked on The Hobbit, which was being made in Wellington, and got an insight into that world of film and realized that the big blockbuster beast was not for me at the time. And so, I started my own thing and have always had an interest in, I guess, technology and how that relates to storytelling. So I started my digital agency wanting to really take advantage of where the world was going with like content online and that sort of thing. But then at the same time, I also started New Zealand's first commercial drone business and a bunch of other stuff. So I've always been interested in how we can take these new technologies and storyify them. We got really into VR very early on as well, integrated that into our business. So I've always been in this kind of cross-platform storytelling space. And about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we wanted to get into creating our own content because we didn't get into this. When I say we, I'm always talking about my wife, Kat Lintott, who is the co-creator of Soul Aether and the co-creator of everything that I do in my life, including my children. And we realized that we didn't want to just be doing creative services our whole lives. We wanted to actually create our own content. And so we were making documentaries and little mini series and stuff like that. But something that we'd always connected on and wanted to do one day was create a young adult sci-fi fantasy world together, which in my mind should be every couple's dream. But when COVID hit, we were like, now we have a little bit of time to do that. And so we got our creative director at the time, Chris Hermanson, to collab with us, and we started creating what is now Soul Aether. And I won't go too much into what Soul Aether is because we can talk about that after the intros. But I guess my main kind of skill set is this ability to navigate both the world of business and creativity and really help bring creativity to life. Over to you, Jed.
All right, I literally have this new mic, and it's I'm just getting used to the settings. But lovely to be here, everyone. I'm Jed Mesa. That's my Web2 name. But Blue in Web3. I have been heavily in kind of more focused on Web2 for my entire career. Backpedal a little bit. I'm from New Zealand, but I live in the UK now. I got the travel bug, but I joined the team in April this year. So I've been helping them kind of craft the go-to-market strategy and kind of how we're going to communicate everything that we're about to the wider world. And it's been a really exciting journey. But a bit about my background. I've probably been in the space in Web2 about 12 years now, kind of more of marketing, traditional specialist. But then I joined the likes of OMD, like the big global networked agencies, later in my career. And I was there for about 6 years, helping grow a social media and content division. I joined about when we were 5 people and helped it to grow to around 30 people by the time I left. And it was the largest social media and content, social kind of content agency in New Zealand at that time. So it was, really exciting stuff, working on clients like McDonald's, Gatorade, Pepsi, Asahi Beverages, just to name a few. But it was really exciting stuff we were doing back then, working with different brands and helping them go to market with new product launches, new branding, and just kind of always on content, managing all the social channels. So yeah, it's really exciting to apply all of my knowledge in that space to something I'm extremely passionate about in Soul Ether. And yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
All right, do you have push to talk on?
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yep, nice.
Hey guys, I'm Interdimensional Cable, or Ari Salzberg. I run head of strategy at Notables. Was approached by Ben, I think it was around now 5 months ago, maybe 6 months ago, about this project, and we fell in love with it the day we heard about it. And we've just been, proud to be able to help it bring it to its fruition, and really excited to tell you about it now. So great to meet you all.
Hey, I guess I'm on. What's going on, everyone? I'm not sure if many of you guys know me or not, but my name's Steve, or NF Steve. I'm very good friends and close with Mitch, classic Mitch up. Him and I actually got introduced in the space a while ago, and MVHQ has been like my first home in the whole space, so I'm always loyal to you guys. I'm the software engineer and NFT strategist for Notables as well, so Ari and I basically work along each other. And I've been helping develop the Soul Aether project. And, I'm definitely biased, but I have to say I have zero complaints working with this team. It's just been such a pleasant experience so far. And I have very high expectations and very excited for this project. So glad to be here and hope we can get you guys all on board with that excitement as well.
Heck yeah! You said you were friends with Mitch, so I trust you just a little bit less. But otherwise,
I think we may have met Ryan actually at your guys'
smart man right there. That's a smart man right there, Ryan.
You said we've met. I've not actually been a chance to go anywhere in public, but
I guess not then. Sorry, but
it's okay. Well, I get mistaken for a lot of people, but I'm just kidding. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I am excited to talk more about Soul Ether. So, not everyone jump all at once, but let's get a quick overview on exactly what Soul Ether is.
I'm happy to do that. So, Soul Aether is a young adult sci-fi fantasy world about these two hidden cabals, science and magic, who have been locked in an eternal Cold War for as long as time has been around. And in the middle of these two forces are a small group of alchemists who have harnessed the power of eternal life through reincarnation. And what we're trying to do is explore the ideas of science and magic, in very much like a representation of how they impact us in the real world. And to give you some context of that, Kat and I, we very much we love technology, and we love all things science, and we love where technology is taking us. But at the same time, deep down, we're hippies, and we love nature, and we love connection, and we love spirituality. And we think that often these two forces are held in these kind of polarities, and they don't get the opportunity to meet in the middle. And for us, that's what the alchemists represent. And the main kind of theme in there is balance. And the reason that we're kind of passionate about this whole space is it really comes down to quantum physics and quantum theory, which we really love, and that essentially is where science and spirituality meet. So that's kind of sets the scene of the world and the themes and why we're exploring it. And the world itself is a cross-platform world that spans from NFTs to an animated series and graphic novel to a metaverse experience or experiences, which we call our Storyverse, and then into a mobile game and eventually live action feature films and all that sort of thing. And this is something that we intend to build over, the next decade and more. It's not this isn't in the next year or two. This is a big, grand vision. And yeah, we want to try and bring alchemy into the 21st century and Gucciify alchemy and get it out of the caves and the cauldrons and the weird wizards and make it feel modern and fresh, and bring that element of science and technology into it, to really feel like it's of this world. That's probably a good little download.
Amazing. So, I'm a big nerd. I'll go ahead and admit it. So when I hear people talk about things, I immediately try to associate it with something that I'm familiar with.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to throw out a comic book series because this kind of reminds me of that a little bit,
Yeah.
where you said like magic kind of meets technology and stuff. Are you guys familiar with Saga? Or would you give it a Saga kind of vibe if you're familiar?
I'm not familiar. I have heard of Saga, but I don't know if that like we haven't referenced it from that. I definitely know like our references from like a story perspective. Kat and I really love his Dark Materials series. That's very like quantum physics, and plays in that really fun realm of like science and spirituality. And then there's a bunch of the classics that obviously like everybody's kind of grown up with, which feed into it as well. Like the Harry Potters and Lord of the Rings and all that sort of stuff. But then there's like some kind of random sort of ones. Like I don't know if you remember a show Quantum Leap from back in the day. Like that's a little inspiration. And then obviously like more recently we're big fans of Arcane. And Kat's currently really into the three body problem, which is like a Chinese sci-fi, which is really cool. And yeah, a whole bunch of others. But I don't know. There's so many different references that we could play reference tennis all day.
I love it. You mentioned a Quantum Leap. Just for reference, they brought it back. It's actually a new series now. So
What? Are you serious?
yeah, really weird. So
Okay, I need to check that out. That's great. I was going on the 80s Quantum Leap.
for sure, I figured as much. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the tennis game there. Again, I always like to know where the inspiration comes from some things. Well, great. So you kind of give us a little overview. But at the end of the day, this is an NFT project, right? So how are we launching this? Is this going to be like a mint that's going to be kind of like a PFP at first, and then kind of go into things? Or these, game pieces that are being sold initially? Land sale. How exactly are we kind of moving into the Web3 space in terms of a mint?
Well, I'm going to correct you there. This is not an NFT project. This is a world building project where NFTs are a part of that. And I think that is a core distinction, which actually makes this project more interesting than a lot of other ones out there in the space. Because when we first, to give you like, just step back a bit, the context of how we actually got into this world building space is, Kat and I were playing with this idea of like interconnected storytelling and how we could create a more cohesive narrative experience for viewers when engaging in a world. And if you look at something like Marvel and you're like, why is there not like some form of tech that binds this whole experience together and makes it personalized for me, so that when I watch a certain film, that has an impact on like how I engage with merchandise, or how I engage with like the games, or the graphic novels and stuff like that. So we started to try and develop this tech that would like create this interconnection, and then we really quickly discovered it gets fucking hard and fucking complicated. And so we're like, okay, let's just go ahead with our original plan of creating our own world, and we'll see if we can weave some sort of technology through it, which creates this like, this personalized, cohesive narrative experience. And then as we were developing this world, we got about like 2 years into it, along came NFTs. And I was like, holy shit, here is a mechanic or a technology which will do that for us, where like a user can have their NFT, and as they engage in different parts of the world, it's almost like your key or membership into it, and that NFT can track and accumulate the different experiences that you have and create a more personalized narrative experience. And so NFTs for us play a very pivotal technological role in the project, but the project itself is a story-driven project that's much grander than just NFTs. But I think I didn't even answer your question there.
You're fine. I appreciate the correction as well. But yeah, I guess to modify my question would be, what are we minting?
Yeah. Okay. Great. Cool. Okay. Back to the question. We are minting alchemists, and so we have three. There's three different characters in this initial tree of prima mint: Neff, Rem, and K, and they each obviously have a whole bunch of personalized rad outfits and accessories and looks. We've created like over 240 unique items that have all been handcrafted by some of the best modelers and animators in the world, and artists. And yeah, we've created these really amazing looking characters. And you will get three different kind of assets in a way. You'll get a video turntable, which will be a full body of the alchemist rotating about 10 seconds long. Then you'll get a like a still version of that, a high res JPEG of the full body, and then you'll get like a cropped in high res JPEG of like the head sort of thing, kind of like my DP is at the moment. And that's kind of, if people want to use it as like a PFP sort of vibe. And so that's what you get. And what that allows for is access into our world. And essentially you become an alchemist. And then once you become an alchemist, you are one of the co-creators of Soul Aether with us. And you gain access to what we call creative governance, where you help us dictate where this world goes. And if you feel creatively inclined, you can feed into ideas, whether it's written, whether it's visual, audio. Like, we want to co-create this world with our holders, and owning an NFT is the first way into that.
Excellent. Okay. Besides that, are there any other, expected utilities early on? And I guess, how soon will the utilities that you mentioned, the access, how soon will that kick in? How soon will that start, quote unquote, paying off?
Jed, you're the utility man.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, the mic thing again. So, as Ben mentioned, you'll get your NFT. Basically what that does, like Ben mentioned, it unlocks your access into the first kind of stage of our community, which is the Discord, and you'll gain access to Altanor, which is the home of the alchemists. Think of it like the Hogwarts of wizards, but Altanor is the home for the alchemists. And once they do that, it'll start to unlock other storytelling opportunities and co-creation opportunities that we're going to be opening up for the community. And already, in the Discord, we're starting to see some really amazing talent drop in with, music talent, creative talent. Some people are even working in the same tools that we're using to create these amazing pieces of art and characters. So to see kind of the creative minds come together and wrap their arms around us is really encouraging. So kind of the first wave will be unlocking those co-creation opportunities and trying to figure out which of the community are indeed plugged in enough. As you engage more with the world, you'll be kind of getting a seat closer. I mean, you're getting a closer seat at the table, essentially. And so we want this notion of creative governance, which Ben talks about in one of our videos, is something really important to us. It's something that we want to be able to open up to the community. Traditionally, right, you don't get the opportunity to co-create these big pieces of IP that sit around, your TV screens, but we're opening up the doors to be able to do that with our community in various different ways. Beyond that kind of creative governance piece, a few weeks post mint, we'll be dropping the playable mechanic of our world. And so kind of as Ben mentioned, there are bigger roadmap items that we have in place, which you publicize on the website. And as we know, kind of time is very important in this space. We're very aware that audiences and communities might get impatient with like those longer term goals, but we know that those are bigger kind of vision pieces that we are definitely going to be forging ahead with. But in the meantime, we want to be able to kind of provide this experience to the community to start exploring the world, start exploring the different avenues that exist within Soul Aether and Altanor. And the playable mechanic of our world, these element NFTs, which you might have seen in the vision paper, or you might have kind of heard around. We haven't dropped too much alpha on it just yet, but there's a bit of detail in the vision paper about it. But essentially, these elements, there are 30 of them in the world. Think of them like gold, sulfur, salt, those kinds of things. And, in traditional alchemy, you fuse these things together, you transmute, you turn them into different matter states. And so there's a really rich exploratory narrative that we can start to unfold with these 30 different elements. There's basically, from a combination perspective, it's just quite unlimited. So when we start to unlock these different elements and airdrop them to users, this is, again, a few weeks after mint, they'll be able to kind of use these elements in different ways, create formulas, invent things, start to push into creating different items that, again, could be sold on the marketplace. So there's going to be this earning potential for holders quite early on in the piece, but we want to make sure it's completely embedded in the story, completely part of the world. And so we'll be releasing more information about exactly what those mechanics look like, post mint and leading up to the launch of the elements. But essentially, that will be the first thing that people will start to engage with. That utility is quite expansive, really, because we've got some really, really interesting ideas on how it will come to life, not just within the elements themselves, but within the wider story arc that we're developing. So yeah, that would kind of be the first cab off the rank, and it links into metaverse experiences. Ben might talk a little bit about kind of the scope of those later, but one of the first things we want to kind of do in terms of the building out that storyverse in Altanor is, a working bench, somewhere that you can start to fuse these elements together. So you might be able to kind of go in there. This will be the first experience of many within Altanor and the Storyverse, where you can put gold, sulfur, salt, mercury, different combinations of these elements together and create things. And again, those are minted NFTs, and that you can sell in the marketplace, trade. There will be an element of staking involved as well with your Alchemist NFTs that we're going to be dropping some more information on post-mint. But yeah, really exciting on how we're trying to create something innovative from a storytelling perspective, but also taking advantage of all the known elements within the NFT and Web3 space that people are used to seeing, but doing it in a really interesting way.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for that explanation. There's no way of getting around it in the NFT space that a lot of people are here to make investments, right? They're here to make money. They're here to, hope that they invest in a project that pays them 10x, 100x, 1000x, whatever. Would you? Obviously, I'm sure you'd welcome those kinds of people from the NFT space, but sometimes projects don't want those kinds of people, the flippers and things like that, to be involved because they're not going to be able to experience the project the way it's intended. Would you guys say that like this isn't for a quick flip? Like this isn't like the flippers beware, like don't get involved in this, or is that something that you guys are okay with at the initial beginning, but really the value here is to the long haul and getting involved in the storytelling elements?
I think definitely like we're building it for the long haul storytelling and the people who want to go on that journey, but we're also completely aware of the market and we're like okay to be in that market, and we've always been aware of that. Again, like the theme of our world is all around balance, and so we see that within any ecosystem you have various types of players and contributors and investors and all those types of things. So yeah, we're all about like equity for all. So whoever wants to be involved is welcome. We hope we just get through virtue of the type of world we are a good spread, really.
Excellent. I love that answer. Well, great. I'm kind of curious, obviously there's a lot of things that you guys probably can't speak to right now in terms of roadmap, but are there any kind of exciting partnerships or kind of exciting tidbits that like you guys do want to mention or you do want people to be aware of that maybe could kind of I don't know, perk some ears up in terms of getting interested in Soul Aether?
For sure. I think like oh sorry, my phone dropping. I think the pointing out like some of our advisors is very interesting in terms of their connections and where we want to take this. As I mentioned before, like this is a project that started with a more traditional entertainment mindset, and so we want to build this world not just in the Web3 space, but in more traditional, like the more traditional entertainment space as well. And having Tom Staggs on board as one of our advisors and investors is just like, you can't really beat that. He is the ex COO and CFO of Disney. He now is the co-CEO of Candle Media, which is one of the more progressive, fast-moving studios in Hollywood, just doing epic stuff. And so through that connection alone, it's like there's some pretty amazing momentum that can be built through the beast that is Hollywood. And then you pair that with Matt Trubitsky, who is an executive producer at Weta Effects, which is arguably the best digital effects house in the world, and do most of the effects for Marvel films, and they've just done the new Avatar that's coming out, and they've done all of the old Lord of the Rings and Hobbits and stuff like that. And so our connections into like the industry that will actually bring this thing to life are very very good connections, and so I think that's a lot for people to get excited about.
That's amazing. I didn't even realize that about the CEO, former CEO of Disney. Could you maybe speak on how a project like your all's is able to snag an advisor like that? Like, I'm just curious. Like, that's a pretty big name, right?
It's a very big name. It all comes down to relationships, right? And so Kat and I that's what we put first and foremost in our lives, is just people. And if you respect people and like build good relationships first and foremost, then they come on board and help you do the cool stuff you want to do. And so the way that we met Tom was there's this thing called the Edmund Hillary Fellowship, which actually our other advisor and investor, Yosef Ayeli, he started. And it was a network of some of the top like thinkers in the world coming together to form a fellowship based around New Zealand and creating ideas that could change the world in a positive way, but build them out of New Zealand. And New Zealand is a very unique kind of ecosystem for progressive thinking. And so this fellowship attracted incredible people, the likes of Tom, the likes of Kevin Rose, he's a fellow, Tim Ferriss, all sorts of amazing people. And they also, as part of the kind of like cross-pollination of these global thinkers, have 20% of the fellowship as New Zealanders as well. And Kat, being the amazing woman she is, was accepted into that fellowship. And so through that, we met Tom, and we were like, oh, we're building a world. And he was like, yeah, I've done some of that in my time too. And we were like, yes, you certainly have. And we started telling him about what we were building, and he was like, oh, I'd be really keen to keep chatting with you guys. And so we just kept having these conversations, and then it kind of progressed to where he was like, oh, I'd be keen to be more involved. And then that got into that advisory space, and he was helping us with how we actually build out this world from an economic standpoint, but then also creatively, like what are the themes that are actually going to hit, like what should our target market be, all those sorts of things that he just has like, an unbelievably deep wealth of knowledge in. And then, helped us kind of push it into more of like raising money, and then was the catalyst for that. And then obviously invested himself as well. So it's been amazing. Like I'm also like, holy shit, how do we have Tom Staggs involved? But again, it's, I guess if you're just a good, genuine person and you're trying to do something cool and creative, like people see that. So very stoked.
Awesome. I love to hear the little stories behind how things happen. And again, I feel like that one needs some explanation, just because, I could say like, oh, hey, this person, is on our board, but until we know like, okay, well, but why? Sometimes it's always just there as a name, but this sounds like an actual connection that you guys worked out. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next? So we've been listening to you guys talk about this a little bit here, but past like 35 minutes. What's next? When are we looking at like a mint date? If I'm excited about this and I want to start getting involved, what do I need to do?
It's all happening pretty soon. We're minting on Monday. And Jed, you could probably talk more to the details of the mint itself. But I think the obvious thing is getting involved in our Discord and starting that journey of becoming an alchemist. But Jed, why don't you elaborate?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the mint is happening on 28th, which is next Monday. We'll be releasing the different mint phasing closer to that time, probably this weekend. But we already have kind of our wave sorted. So we've got a wave 1, which is not over allocated. So it's a guaranteed mint for those who are lucky enough to receive Soul List, wave 1. And then we kind of step into a secondary phase, which we're awarding out in our Discord. It's called Worthy Souls, and they'll be allowed to mint for a discount. And we've got a very limited number of those to give away. And then we step into wave 2, which is a wait list. And that pre-mint is currently live on our Twitter. So that's kind of open for application. And then we step into public from there. So that's kind of the general mint structure we're rolling out. And the reason we want to do a guaranteed mint is because we want to, kind of make it equitable for as many people as possible. And that balance being obviously a really, really core aspect of the project. We want to ensure that there's a balanced approach to how we roll out a mint structure as well. And I think that goes without saying for everything that we do. We want to make it equitable for everyone, since we're all about inclusivity, diversity and culture, and race and gender. So for us, doing that is really important. But when it comes to kind of getting involved with the project right now, I'm kind of managing the Twitter and the Discord side of things. So I'm looking out for people who are, really plugged in, who are genuinely engaging over Twitter, and then sending them over to Discord to earn this role called Primarchs. And that's basically our OG roles. And we have 3,333 of those OG roles up for grabs. I think currently right now we're at 2,983, if I remember correctly. And so there's a few more of those roles to give out, but they're very, very limited. And once you get access to, as a Primarch, you basically kind of given early access within the doors of Altanor, which is the home of the alchemists. And within Discord, there's currently challenges, law-based challenges for you to engage with to basically crack. And then within that process, we're awarding out worthy souls, Soul List Wave 1. So there's allocations set aside specifically for our OGs, our Primarchs, to earn based on their engagement in the Discord. And there's also another role which we're calling Free Souls. So we're actually airdropping 53 of our alchemists to those who are really worthy of it. So again, there's a lot to kind of gain by being a Discord member early on, prior to mint. So I guess for everyone who is already a Primarch or who wants to be one, I'll be looking out for you all. But that's kind of the best ways to get engaged right now.
Excellent. And it's one thing to like say, hey, participate in our Discord, be here, show up. Other than obviously getting the whitelist or getting these special things, is there like what can people expect if they do join your all's Discord in your community? Are you guys doing like kind of events like to kind of get everyone hyped up? Is there sports chat? Like I don't know. Like is there a reason to hang out?
Yeah, 100%. So kind of the main focus at the moment is really on driving people to engage with our different challenges. Because again, like I mentioned, they are law-based. So being a storytelling, world-building platform, we really want to introduce people slowly into the different aspects of the law that we're trying to create. So with the different challenges being varying difficulties, it's giving them the opportunity to just get a glimpse about what's going on within the story, the different aspects that we're introducing to the world, and getting them primed for what's coming up next. Like I mentioned, the Element NFT drop. So a lot of the lore really starts to lean into that space. Apart from that, we've kind of what's the word, encouraging a lot of creativity in the Discord. So for anyone that knows how to write music, or anyone that knows how to actually create art or do those things, and I know it sounds like it's a very trodden path, but the kind of quality that we're looking for in the Discord is relatively high, and we're seeing some people who kind of work in the tools that we've used to create these pieces. I think I mentioned it before, already showing up and putting forward their unique art, whether it be music. Some guy dropped his own DJ track on the trailer, and at least I think it's pretty fire. So seeing some of these creatives come out of the woodwork essentially and show us their skills is really, really making me proud, and basically a great start to what we're trying to create. Is basically trying to give people, creatives, and people interested in sci-fi, fantasy, a seat at the table. So right now we've got that submissions channel open and a bit of a gaming chat for people who are interested to talk about gaming. But really right now we're trying to limit the superfluous engagement that a lot of Discords have. They have every channel open for every single interest, and it can be quite confusing for a lot of people. So we're directing people's attention to what really matters. And right now it's the Tria Prima drop, which is happening on Monday. So as we grow and as we start to open up different aspects of the world and post mint, those channels will start to expand. Because right now attention is really, really hard to grasp and maintain. So directing those in the right ways is really important for us.
Excellent. Appreciate you answering that. Well, awesome. Sorry, my mic cut off. So this is kind of the part of the interview where I kind of go to the guests for questions, and I don't see any guest questions as of now, but I want to make sure that you all are heard and give you guys kind of a spot here to maybe give us some more information that maybe we haven't talked about or haven't revealed, or if we've kind of covered everything, want to make sure we have some time for you guys to kind of do like what I always call it, kind of a final pitch per se before we log off in the interview.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks. I think something I haven't really covered is like Eltenor. And just a little bit of more vision into the kind of visual world that we're creating. So these alchemists, the 30 of them, they live and train and study in a place called Eltenor, which is inside a hollowed out volcano. And in the middle of that volcano is a giant crystal holding up like a crystal ceiling with a small lake that sits on top of that, which kind of hides them from the world but lets the light in. And the city has been built over thousands of years as the alchemists have reincarnated. And obviously, as they reincarnate into a different race and into a different gender. And so you've got all these different like cultural nuances flowing into this really eclectic city, everything from like ancient Chinese architecture into modern Scandi. And it's going to be, a really rad place to interact with that is based in this really deep storyline, and we're calling it our storyverse because of it being so story driven, but it is a metaverse experience or experiences. And our vision for this place is a space that people can engage in the world. They can play all sorts of games, they can watch content within that, they can host spaces with mates or whatever. We can even do like yoga classes in there, we can do like alchemy classes, they can do like training on how their elements are working and how to do different like transmutations and all that sort of stuff. So in time we think it'll be this really amazing world that allows you to just really lose yourself in the world of Soul Aether. The way I like to think about it is almost like it's like our version of Hogwarts, and imagine if you could go like into all those incredible dungeons and caves and explore all the little crevices of Hogwarts. That for me gets me super excited. So that's kind of our vision of what we want to build for that. And then on the series side of things, which will be one of the first main focuses for us post this mint, is all about following Kay, who's one of our main alchemists, and their journey throughout time as they have battled our antagonist, who's actually a alchemist themselves. Their name is Core, and they've gone rogue essentially. We get to see something that I don't really think we've seen before in a show, where it's the same character, throughout time and in these different kind of big major events that, everything from the pyramids right through to today, and all the, the big historical moments you can think of. So there's lots of cool, like the depth of story, the ability for us to go in all sorts of interesting places because of that mechanic of the reincarnation is super exciting for us.
Excellent. That's awesome. I love it. I'm getting some really good vibes from the project and the storytelling elements of everything, and the kind of comparisons you've made. So really excited. Before we go, does anyone else on the team want to reiterate something? I know Ben kind of took that point, but I want to make sure that I don't silence any of you guys and you guys have a space to talk.
I would just say we are extremely excited to be partnering with the Soul Aether team on this. And one of the main reasons why we decided to do this is, we always, Notables tries to bring IP, the best of the IP in the world, into the blockchain in an innovative and novel way. And when they first came to us to go over this idea, the one thing that Ben really stressed to us was the reason why he wants to use NFTs is not because of a gimmick or anything, but this has been an idea they've been building for 10 years now. And he looks at NFTs as an innovative mechanism to bring fans and bring people who want to be involved in the story in a way closer that really could never be done before. And it was, a privilege and an honor to be able to help make that vision come true. And we're very excited for this job going forward.
One thing I might just say as well is, I guess one of the main reasons I joined the project was mainly around the technology piece, but I think further than that and much more close to my heart is the values that the project represents around diversity in multiple facets. And I think I mentioned it earlier around gender diversity, to the point that our characters don't actually have a gender. They are they and them, and because they reincarnate over time into different genders, different races. There's this beautiful exploration of what identity means. And I think especially for the younger generations coming through, that's going to be extremely hard for them to navigate with all the different kind of pressures on them. As we faced when we were younger, it's going to be pronounced for them. And so to give them a space like Soul Aether to involve themselves in and actually explore those themes of identity, of culture, of what race means to them, and diversity in those factors, I think it makes you fall in love with what's happening, and especially because we're targeting that younger adult demographic from a story perspective, and then the wider sci-fi audience group. It just sets a bedrock of growth for the future. Grappling those hearts and minds, grasping them, should I say, at a young age, helps us create a fan base, not just now, but into the future. Like I said, we've all fell in love with IP, especially in our younger ages. And so for us, that's the goal, to equip the younger generation with this entertainment to not just kind of engage in, but actually find themselves and find who they are, not just in Web 2 space, but in Web 3 as well. And that representation, I think, is going to be important, not just for the individual, but it extends into the NFT, to the point we're talking about, eventually making NFTs customizable. And that's, we're not sure how long away that is, but, imagine being able to change out your clothes, your shoes, your hat on your actual alchemist. And that opens up a whole nother swath of revenue opportunities to partner with fashion brands and do limited drops in that aspect. But again, the core focus is on representation and making sure that these NFTs, how fire they are, we're able to give people the opportunity to represent themselves in ways that they want to. So yeah, again, thank you for having us, and just a pleasure to chat with you all.
The same to you all. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to it. And y'all make sure you pay attention. Mint's coming up on Monday here. So you're going to want to make sure you are minting one of these alchemists. So again, thanks gentlemen for the conversation. Really excited to see how things go. And yeah, have a great day/night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for hosting. I'll catch you in the voice chat general. See you guys.
Later.
Get
Bye.
you guys. Thank you.